Okay. And I think we're live on YouTube. Yes, we are live. So let's hope that everything works as they promised, or as they advertise, as you say. Hey guys, welcome in our studio in Emmeloord. Welcome in Emmeloord. And today, of course, you don't see that we're in Emmeloord because we're inside. And why are we inside? Well, because that works easier with digital classroom, right? But all joking aside, one of the things that is awesome when you're on location and you want to make sure that you get great images is, of course, to create mood and atmosphere. Now, nowadays, of course, we have artificial intelligence, we have software like Boris FX. We're going to do a whole video series on those, so you're going to love those. We're going to take normal images, we're going to take images, for example, from our cosplayers, and we're going to totally change everything about that image. So we're still going to keep the lighting, we're still going to keep the backdrops, the colors, everything, but we're going to change everything around it. We're going to add snakes, artificial dust, lighting effects, lens flare. It's absolutely amazing, so make sure you check out those too. But overall, we want to create, and that's the same thing we do with those cosplay workshops, is we want to create as much as possible on location, on the set. Now, when we think about mood makers outside, now we all know those landscape photographers, right, who have absolutely amazing quality of light. And let's be totally honest, what is an amazing quality of light? An amazing quality of light depends on the set that you do. Sometimes you want to have very, very soft lighting, a wraparound effect, and sometimes you want Rembrandt lighting, for example, lighting from the side of your model, creating that beautiful Rembrandt triangle. It's all up for grabs. Whatever you want, it works, if it works, right? So, one of the mood makers, besides light and besides gels, color, is actually one thing that I love to use, and that's smoke. So what has that to do with those landscape photographers? Well, very simple. One of the most beautiful things you can get with a landscape photo is actually that little bit of fog over the landscape. It creates that mood, that atmosphere. We go like, ooh, I really like this. Another thing that's really important when you use smoke is, before we start the photo shoot, is that I first explain a little bit about the smoke that we're using. So we have our model today, Linda, and she's absolutely amazing, but she isn't amazing when I just pump her full of smoke, because you don't see Linda anymore. It's gone. It's one big puff of smoke. And we are anti-smokers over here, so we don't want to use a lot of smoke. But it's very easy to make that mistake, because smoke, as you might guessed it already, isn't stable. It's very unstable actually, and there is something with smoke that we have to discuss before. But let's first get to that landscape, that smoke on the bottom, right, that little bit of dew, that beautiful area. But also think about movies. Whenever you walk around a graveyard, let's be honest, we're walking about a graveyard at 10 o'clock at night, it's dark. Did you ever see smoke and blue light? No, of course not. So why the heck in every movie, when you watch a horror movie, it's blue light on a graveyard and a lot of smoke? When I see something like that, I'm going to run away because I think I'm in a movie and the zombies will come after me. It's a mood maker. It's something that creates that atmosphere. Okay, so now back to the studio. So as soon as we're in the studio and we're going to create smoke, there are a few things that you have to think about. The first thing is, smoke is a mood maker, but it's also a reflector, a deflector, and a filter. So that means that when I set up my lighting, and you're going to see that in a moment, we're going to shoot it on our model. And for example, I use a light meter and I say, okay, it's f5.6, great. Take the shots, it looks absolutely amazing, 5.6, spot on. And then you start adding smoke and you immediately find out that, hey, my lighting doesn't fit anymore. What's going on? I metered f5.6. And that's because every time you use smoke or you use any other form of diffusion material that you put between your lens, or actually between your light and your model, it will take away light or it will reflect light. So let's say we have this really dark area on this side and we have the lighting hitting from here. The first thing that you will normally do in a studio is, hey, this is way too dark, we want separation. We don't really want an accent lighting, let's put a reflector there. Or maybe you want accent lighting, right? Everything's possible. So you place a reflector there, now you open up those shadows. Now if you practice exactly the same technique with smoke, you will find out that even without a reflector, if there's smoke here, that will reflect the light back on your model's face. So if you just go in blind, and you should never photograph blind, right? But if you go in blind without any preparations and you set up the lighting exactly the way that you normally should, you will fail with smoke. For the very simple reason, smoke changes everything. Now, why is that important? I love to work with high contrast and lower light intensities. So that means when I shoot a full body model, and I hardly do it, I will use a strip light and I will light it from top to toe. Yeah, top to toe, correct. And that will work, right? But with smoke, I can actually get away with a smaller light source and just aim a little bit of smoke under my model. Because if I have a smaller light source and it goes down, it will actually travel through the smoke will reflect back, and at that point I get this beautiful light quality on my model, which of course creates that mood that we want. Let me change something very quickly here. There we go. So reflection, but also diffraction. Diffraction, you know, of course, from your lens, but I mean something else. I said it wrong. I meant diffusion. So when you have a very harsh light source, very high shadow and very, very harsh shadow transfers, when you use smoke, you will find out that that harsh light source becomes a little bit softer. Now, that's great, right? But why do I tell you this? If you already start with a soft light source and you use smoke, the whole smoke will light up and you will get a white beam of light and it just doesn't go anywhere. Think about when driving with your car through the fog and you just open up your headlights. You will be welcomed back with a big wall of white. You don't want that, right? You get into an accident and you don't see anything. So with photography, with smoke, we try to not light the smoke from the front, because if we light the smoke from the front, it will actually reflect back to the camera, so you get a white beam of light. It doesn't make any sense. Now, if you place the light on the side and you shoot into the smoke, this is where it becomes interesting, because part of that smoke will reflect back on your model. Part of that smoke will reflect back on the lighting that has no impact at all, maybe a little bit on the backdrop. But the nice thing is everything that's around your model with smoke will start to light up and actually light your model. So it's a win-win situation. If you know how to control smoke, it's one of the most amazing light sources or accessories or whatever you want to call it to put in your set, because it really creates atmosphere. Now, the other question we get a lot is, what kind of smoke machine should I buy? Should I buy the most expensive one? No. Should I buy the cheapest one? Hell no, especially not the cheapest one. The thing is, there are two kinds of smoke machines, the ones that are water-based and the ones that are oil-based. Now, the oil-based sound very, very interesting, because you start them up and 1 minute later you can start pumping smoke and they actually keep on going and going and going. There's no problem at all. The thing is, there's always a little bit of that oil residue in your smoke. Now, think about this. We all do this several times a day, right? We breathe in, we breathe out. Now, think about me as a strobe. Do I stand the whole day like this? No, of course not. I breathe, and when I'm a strobe, I use a little fan that actually circulates the air inside your strobe. Now think about this. When you're a heavy smoker, you get a lot of nicotine on your throat, right? And on your lungs, and at one day that will kill you. If you are a strobe and you use oil-based smoke, all that smoke will go through your strobes, and every time it will leave a little bit of residue of that oil in your strobe. Now, sometimes I get emails from people that say, I already use an oil-based machine for 5 years, no problem at all. Yeah, wait until year 6. We are using water-based machines. The big disadvantage, and you're going to see that today, is also that they have to warm up for a long time. We turn them on, and it takes at least 4 or 5 minutes before they're warm. So we always use 2, and they're very cheap, so why not? The water-based machines have no problem at all, because the moment we breathe air, there's already a lot of water molecules in the air. So that means that it doesn't hurt your strobes and it doesn't hurt yourself. So a water-based machine is perfect. Now, when you use your basin for your smoke, you also have several choices. You can go for very thick, and that will give you those big clouds. We always call it here the 4-to-1 clouds, if you want to call it like that. And that's the clouds that you don't want, of course. But if you use the very thin material, you will get a very haze-like quality of smoke. And in most cases with photography, that's more of an annoyance, because you can see the smoke, but it's like, hey, is there smoke? I don't know. I see a little bit of fake. You don't want that. So what we actually use is the middle depth. So that means that we have medium, and that will give you those nice plummy smoke effects. But if you make your shutter speed just a little bit slower, it will literally just blend together. And remember, when you're shooting with strobes and modeling lights, if you leave your shutter time open longer, it will let in more of the ambient light. So put your modeling lights on 100%, even if you shoot close down, and it will actually render that smoke a little bit more nicely and softer. I think that's everything you need to know about smoke, or at least about the smoke machines. We're going to go into the studio with our model Linda, and she's ready for it, right? Yes. Yeah, she's 2 meters 50, so she's a really tall model. And yeah, she always comes with an SUV. I have to win some time because I forgot something. Yes, there we go. Okay, cool. Hey, let's go into the studio. Annemiek is going to take over from me, so I'm going to switch the picture-in-picture very quickly. We're going to do a small picture in the top part, where you can see all the images coming in, and we do a bigger picture so you can actually see what I'm doing, if you want. And otherwise in the chat you can also choose to have me totally out of the picture. Just tell to Annemiek, get Frank away. And it will actually make the image full screen. But we don't want that, of course. Okay, let's take off the remote control for now. And let's grab a light meter. I'm going to set up a very simple lighting setup for now. So I'm going to ask my model to stand against the wall a little bit. Not too much, a little bit from. And I think, yeah, it looks absolutely amazing. Are you feeling happy?
Yes.
Okay. One of the first things, always make sure that your model is at ease. Now, of course, Linda and I know each other. But when you start a photo shoot, one of the most annoying things is actually like, okay, stand. Great. Now think about doing a glamour shoot or lingerie. You never saw the lady before she comes in. Yeah, take off your clothes and stand there. How do you think that portrays to the model? That's very weird. They get a little bit anxious, and you can see it in the eyes. And as soon as you see in the eyes that there's a little bit less oomph, your image won't look great. So what we always try to do is make fun with our model, make sure that she feels at ease, and maybe tickle, no, don't tickle her a little bit, and you get a me too. So don't do that, but you know what I mean, right? Tickle her ego a little bit, like, hey, you look awesome today. I love the thing in your hair. Wow. Yeah. New makeup looks stunning. Yeah. Now, of course, we know each other, so I'm now going to stop with all that flattery. The thing that we're going to do is we have model A. This is our Giotto GT400. I'm going to turn this one on. There we go. And of course now, as we have it set up here, this doesn't really look nice and interesting. It's flat on our model. And the thing is, a lot of people start with lighting like this, flat on our model, because then we have a lot of light, right? And we don't have that annoying shadow under the nose. You know that annoying shadow under the nose? They're called the butterfly lighting, and there's a lot of people that actually pay you a shitload of money if you can pull that off right. So that little butterfly here, we don't want to annoy people by taking that away, because we think it's nicer, it isn't. So what we have to do is make sure that the light is a little bit higher up and aiming down. Think about the sun. When we are outside, we want to make sure that also in nature, the sun comes from above, it never comes from down. I want to make sure that it goes right. Now, I have a tip for you guys. This is a little bit naughty towards my intern. I asked my intern to label all the stands with numbers, A, B, and C, for A, B, and C. And she can't help this, so it's not an attack to you, don't worry, Meerte. This is what we see a lot in studios. Don't do it here. Because if I raise my stand this way, I will actually take off the sticker and it will actually get stuck in here. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because I see it now, and I've seen it a lot of times when people do this in the studio. They look at a boom stand and they don't realize that if you open this, the boom stand goes up. So if you label your strobes, always label it on this part, on a non-moving part. So also with tripods, and you see this also a lot with tripods, they do something on the middle column, they push it down, and at that point it just gets stuck, and people panic and they can't get the strobes or whatever out of that tripod again. So make sure you watch out for that. And in this case we don't have any problem at all, because I can do it like this. And if there was not an educational part in it, I wouldn't have told you guys. So I aim the light a little bit down. And now there's always something with lighting about distance. The more you change the distance of your light, the faster the light will fall off, or the slower. Yes, the slower the light will fall off. So the more I move it away, the slower the light will fall off. But there's something else. When we look at our lenses, and we look at, for example, a 24mm, we have an angle of view like this. But if we look at the 70mm, we have an angle of view like this. Now, when we look at our strobes, we have exactly the same thing. Let me take this strobe off for now. Let me just show you very quickly. So, this is our new Giotto softbox, by the way. I have to show you something that's really cool. We have a grid in here. And now, when I aim it straight at the camera, you can see the material of the softbox. But when I angle it, at one point it will turn black. I don't know if you see that now on the camera. Yeah. Okay, and now you can probably see through it again. And black. Now, this actually means that we're manipulating the angle of view. We're not manipulating, a lot of people think we're manipulating the direct beam of light. We don't, because the light still travels through. What we are eliminating is all that side lighting. So we're going from a 24 mil to a 70 mil without moving the strobe further away. But we're also making sure that there's no light spill. Now, what I wanted to show you about this. Now, there's a lot of wedding photographers in our viewers, and of course a lot of fashion photographers like me. One of the most frustrating parts is always bringing your softboxes with you on location. They take up a lot of space, or you have to work with all those rods to put them in, and that's very annoying. Now, normally when you use an umbrella-like softbox, you still have your speed ring that will stand up, so you can't move it flat in your case. Now, watch this. Hold your finger here. Make sure you have to keep your finger on the right place. Just press this little button. And look at this. And now I can loosen these two screws. And I can take... That's our studio dog, Chewy. He hears somebody. So now I can literally just take my speed ring. And I can place this really small. And as you can see, the grid is in here. The diffusion panel is in here. Everything is in here. And on location, the only thing I have to do is place this back, make sure it's tight, make sure it's on the open setting, and there we go. We have a softbox, grid, everything attached. The only thing I now have to do is place it back on my strobe. Isn't that awesome? This for me is a real game changer for softboxes. And of course it's the Bowens mount, so they're really easy. Of course. Yeah, of course in a live stream it's never easy, because I'm not straight in front. There we go. Also make sure that you always close. This is also something I sometimes see interns doing, but also photographers, that they don't close the back completely. Now this is okay, but if I open up this, for example, and I don't take any notice, I won't really have a problem with this. But if I open it on that side, did you ever have that photo? And of course it never ever happened to me, never ever. Do you ever have that photo where you have that slight reflection on your backdrop and you go like, what the heck? Why is there a reflection on the backdrop? Then you go into your software and you go like, maybe I did something with, for example, lightening up an area and it takes it over to the next shot and you can't find it. And you go like, what the heck? Well, check your softboxes if they're really close, because if they're a little bit open, light will spill over to your backdrop and you get these really annoying reflections. Or maybe you like it, you get a totally new style out of it. Oh, are you ready? What a talk. Okay, let's take our light meter. Cool. The remote control. And let's set up. Now, we're only using channel A at the moment. I'm placing it relatively far away from my model, because we're using smoke in a moment. I'm going to place it a little bit closer. So I want to make sure that I hit her right. Okay. Always hold your meter in front of the area you want correctly lit. 5.62. Okay, let's turn that down 1/3 of an f-stop. So that's 5.6. Yeah, that's great. 5.6. ISO 100. So we're going to use our camera on ISO 100. Let me see. ISO 100, 5.6. My display was off. So, there we go. Okay, let's do... There we go. Slow, but steady. Look that way if you want. Okay, so another really interesting shot. The problem is it's a little bit on the dark side. As you can see, the shadows clog up a little bit. There's not really separation on the left side. And when I look at the shot, I go like, it's not there yet. So first things first, let's take care of the backdrop. Can you step one step forward, please? Perfect. I'm going to feather my light away from the backdrop, just very slightly. I'm going to go here. Now this looks way better. Now make sure that the backdrop falls in nicely. Awesome. So now we have already something that looks a little bit better. Something where I go like, okay, this is usable, this is perfect. But in all honesty, they're still a little bit too dark from the back. Do you agree? It just doesn't fit right with the backdrop. Well, luckily, we have more strobes. So let's take our Frank Doro flash bender, which I absolutely love, of course. And this is my channel C. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to place this behind my model. And I'm going to use it as a sandwich between the backdrop and my model. So I'm going to aim it not at my model, not at the backdrop, just a little bit in between. I'm going to turn that one up. Let me see, 1/4, that should be okay. And just aim it maybe a little bit more towards the backdrop. There we go. So let's say channel A, B, and C. And there we go. Now, of course, we have way too much light on our backdrop, but you see the effect, right? So let's aim it back from the backdrop. And this is a little bit experimenting. And because we're now using studio lighting for the video, I can't really see what I'm doing with the modeling lights. So I have to figure it out manually. There we go. Second one is better. Almost there. Let's go for a little bit more on the C channel. 1 stop extra. Nice. So now we have nice separation from the backdrop. We have a nice accent light on our model. The hairs really are nice. You see it a little bit on her behind. The shirt she's wearing is really dark, so it doesn't really register there. That's something for styling. If you would do something like this, I would prefer a slightly lighter Gillette or whatever you call it, what you're having on. Slightly lighter. In this case, because we're using smoke, it's no problem at all. When you look at a shot like this and you want to keep it dark, make sure that the clothing isn't too dark. Let's spice this shot up. Are you ready? Can you stand, turn around? Turn around? Yeah, love this shot. No, I'm just kidding. Are you ready? Turn around very violently. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. Now this way, and we've done that many times, you get a little bit more motion. Now this, no, not really. Let's do it a little bit more violently. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, there we go. That's awesome. Now I have to place it a little bit further on the side, so let's do that again. So I'm trying to figure out her timing. 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. Now, this is mostly what I use to loosen the models up. I don't even look at the lighting at the moment because this lighting isn't really usable for motion. If I want to use motion, I would actually prefer to stand here and shoot it more flat. So I'll do it again. And it won't look nice, but let's just try it. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, chin up while you do that. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, one more. I was a little bit too late. 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. So when you do it a little bit more flatter, it just looks a little bit nicer. Of course, now we have that really nasty light on the back and the backdrop isn't that nice, but you know what I mean, right? Flatter light. Now when I look at this, I go like, yeah, it doesn't really excite me yet. It doesn't give me goosebumps. The dark, oh, let me first take a reference shot again that you know what I mean. So it doesn't really excite me yet. Now, one of the things that I love about Click backdrops, they changed the name. It's now not Click Props backdrops, but it's Click backdrops. So I practiced for a year to pronounce it correctly, and they changed it. So thank you so very much, Charlie. So, what is the thing that I love about the Click backdrops? Is that every time it seems when I use vinyl, it just gives me a slightly different behavior of color. So in other words, if I use this backdrop with blue and I use a little bit of red on it, it gives me a certain mood. So we're going to bring in another strobe. I'm going to bring in this one. And you feel it coming. This one is going to give me a little bit of an accent light. But from which side? Well, we already have an accent over there. We're going to use this one here. Now, in case you're wondering what I'm using on this one, this is a Giotto GT200. That's a rectangular strobe. And we're using the Rogue mount for speed lights. So we're using the speedlight mounts on this, and it actually creates a very nice, ooh, there we go, a very nice magnetic system. And in that magnetic system, we have a gel holder, that's this one, and a red gel. So I placed the red gel here, I placed the gel holder over it, and over that, so this is the gel holder, you just click it here, so now we have red gels. The thing is, if I use the red gels like this, it just beams out like this. And I can still use a grid on it to mimic, this one makes it omnidirectional. So when I put this one on, it actually means that the light just goes here and then overall gets out of that dome. And it gives me a very nice wraparound effect. Now this light we're going to use very, very sparsely. So I'm going to place it against the backdrop, turn it on. I'm going to aim it at the backdrop, but I'm not going to use it on 1:1. It's now 1:1, that's insane. I'm going to place it at least 1/8, probably even lower. So let's see. Okay. No, don't touch the turn. Just look. Yeah, that's perfect already. There we go. Now this is a little bit too little. Now let's add a little bit more on the B channel. One extra stop. There we go. This I like. Now you might wonder, like, Frank, how can you like this? It doesn't really look nicely. It looks like crap. Yeah, but do you realize that we went from absolutely too dark to nice? So let me start again. Let's do the B channel, turn it off. C channel, turn it off. So I'm going literally from this, stay that way, don't move, to my C channel. Oh, sorry, mode. This is with the C channel. And now we're going to add the color. See? So we're building that up. And you might wonder, like, hey Frank, that red one, it doesn't really do anything. I totally agree. In this setup, it doesn't do anything. But let's start adding the smoke. Mirta, are you ready? Now, pumping smoke isn't as easy as pumping iron. Pumping smoke is an art form. I'm making her really nervous now. Yeah. Now, let me walk towards the camera. So, I'm getting really close to you guys now, so she can't hear me. If you just start pumping smoke and just press that button, it looks terrible. But if you spread it out nicely, first in the back and then in the front, it creates something really cool. So, Mirte, you are way too far away. What you have to do is first, you fill up the back. So, yeah, and just fill up the back a little bit. Perfect. Now I'm going to take the shot without any extra smoke. And as you can see already, it works. But it isn't really something where you go like, oh wow, I'm so glad I opened up Digital Classroom today. But look at the back. You can already see that over there, you have this really nice white area where we already get some of the smoke in. The trick is now to make sure that the model stands out from the smoke. So we did the back, but the front is still just the model. And we don't want it. We want to make sure that the model jumps out. And we do that actually by making the model disappear. Now this sounds weird, right? We want the model to jump out, so we do it by making her disappear. We're actually not making the model disappear, we're making the model glue into the set. So first fill up the back. Yeah, against the wall. Perfect. And now as soon as I say yes, you aim it a little bit forward. 2 presses forward, this side. Yes, no, on her knees. Press twice. Okay, and now aim up against that red strobe. Red strobe, that one. Yeah. Okay, now you remember how you did it, now you do it at once. So first the back, in one motion the front, and then the red. Perfect. Now the only thing I have to do is wait for the smoke to come in. And there we go. Oh, now the C channel didn't fire. There we go. And now you can see that the red already gives it a little bit more of a hue in there. So the red is already creeping up in the set. Now I like this, but it doesn't excite me yet. I don't get those goosebumps yet. And those goosebumps are for me very important because the goosebumps make sure that I see an image that's correct. So what I'm going to do with that backlighting is because I'm using a dome, it's omnidirectional. So it means I can literally move that dome around. And what I want is I want a little bit more oomph in my camera. So I'm going to take this one. And because it's an... Ja, haal die er maar even af. There we go. Because it's a boom, I can literally just do this. And then aim it slightly towards my camera. Now, by aiming it towards my camera, I'm actually creating a little bit of lens flare. And to make sure that it works, I'm of course going to take off my sun hood. I'm still using that K&F Concept black diffusion filter, of course, and we're going to first take a test shot. There we go, and you can already see that that red is now really creeping into that set. And because I didn't move it towards the backdrop, you can actually see that it doesn't really light the backdrop, and this is a really cool effect. Every light source that you place on your backdrop will create a hotspot, and from that hotspot it will create a color. So that always means that that hotspot is white, and it looks very unnatural. Although it is natural, it just doesn't look right for us. But if we make that area red, it looks even weirder. So what's going on? The cool thing is that we don't aim that strobe directly on the backdrop. We don't aim that strobe directly at us, but we create it somewhere in the middle. And because it's omnidirectional, most of the light is hit towards the camera. A small part is hit towards that backdrop. And because we're using smoke, it literally just fits everything together. So I'm going to place it a little bit closer towards me, maybe a little bit towards you. Let's try that. Let's use the pistol grip. Whoa, don't do this with one hand. Het gaat al. Ik heb hem al. Got it. There we go. Pistol grips are awesome, but they're also very tight, so don't do it with one hand. There we go. And now it's even better. So that little bit of that little bit of separation, what I had was now gone. It's now more equal. Okay, now I want some real smoke. So a lot of smoke behind her, then a little bit in front, and don't mention that one anymore. Right, don't worry. Smoke. I will show you one time. All right. And then see if I can take the shot also. Yeah. So the first thing you have to do is aim it at the floor and fill up the backdrop. And then, that's all you have to do. Yeah. Take the shot. We don't need assistance. There we go. A little bit more on the front of the model. Yeah, that's your cue. All right. And the only thing I have to, not too much in front of her face. Yeah. There we go. Oh, nice. Linda, can you turn around? And when I say yes, turn around very violently. 1, 2, 3, go. And now with the smoke, you see that all that harshness in the face is gone. It's now perfect. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of extra accent light by using this one. So instead of using it from the side, I'm going to place it a little bit more here. And aim it slightly that way. There we go. Okay, are you ready? Okay. 1, 2, go. There we go. Now all that hardness is gone. There's a little bit of hair in front of her, what actually creates that shadow. So let's see if we can take that out. Okay, a little bit of smoke. First the back. More. A little bit up. Okay, and now the front. Okay, empty. 1, 2, 3, go. Perfect, and again. 1, 2, 3, go. And again. 1, 2, 3, go. Ooh, that's too dark. 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. And the final one. Gonna let her turn a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. And now I'm gonna change it. I think that one is better. I was a little bit afraid with the hair in front, but then when I make her turn a little bit less, I didn't like the effect. So that's why we actually in the end chose for a little bit more that way. Final one. No problem. Okay, then a little bit of smoke behind her. Yeah. That's why we use 2 smoke machines. We want taller interns, we want smaller interns. We can't make up our minds. Ah, okay, it's not your fault. Okay, a little bit, just under her tush. What? Onder de kont. 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. And now only look at me, just portrait. So turn around over your shoulder. Turn around and then over your shoulder. No, not turning. Maybe. Yes, like that. Perfect. Oh, nice. I just see that my ISO creeped up to 80. Let's turn that back to 100. Oh, nice, turn around completely. Look at the difference, and then look towards the light. Nice, really like this. And of course now I can still move around, and because I have that red one over there, oh, it doesn't work with the cap on. I can even use that for a little bit of accent lighting. And for example, shoot from a lower perspective. Oh, this is really nice. I have to make sure that I cut out my strobes. Nice. Very cool. Or shoot it more flat. Ooh, that's really nice and dark. If that last one I really like, if you just tilt your head up just a little bit. And then tilt your head like that. Ooh, that's cool. That's the one. And there we go. Okay, one more for full body. Stay that way. Very nice. Okay, cool. Change for the next set. And I'm going to explain some stuff. And of course, take a little bit of a drink. And pet the dog, so he's quiet. I hate you. Okay, let's switch over to my camera. Let me see where the smaller version is. Okay, so when you look at the shots, you can see that the close-ups are pretty cool. But they don't have that oomph in your shots, the thing where you go like, wow. But as soon as you start shooting it from the side, because you're getting that side lighting, it really looks nice. This looks really nice. A little bit too dark, a little bit too little light there. The motion shots are awesome. And of course, they're not all great. And sometimes I disconnect the trigger just to see what happens. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, a few things. Let me first do this. We have a new intro. Now, normally, we of course play the intro at the start of the show, which is supposed how it works. But watch this, our intern created this. And I would love to hear your responses on it. We all know the older intro, of course. Let's see, this is a new one. Because today, and you may not realize this, today is the start of season 9. So this is the first episode of season 9. Imagine this, we're doing this for 9 years now. And we're so grateful for the two companies actually that have been with us from the start, are BenQ and Rogue. You may not realize that, but those companies are now already making Digital Classroom possible for over 9 years. And that's awesome, of course. So we have a new intro. Isn't that awesome? She used a little bit of smoke. Great, right? Okay, so a few things. Now, of course, the shots that you take during a digital classroom are not high-end shots. They're nothing compared to what you do for a commercial job or maybe even for a free work session. Because I have to think about the studio lighting, I have to explain stuff. We have a model that, of course, is just she just comes in. No chance to warm up, immediately in front of a camera and do it. So those shots are never 100% correct. However, in real life, you also don't have the chance to take a shot immediately the right way. Because, for example, you have a client and you have to do what we call in the Netherlands a smoelenboek, where you come into a company and we have 20 personnel and let's just shoot them. Now, you might think like, hey Frank, that's nothing compared to the stuff that you do with artists or with fashion, right? Yes and no. We also do those commercial shoots for companies. And the thing that I found really interesting is that whatever I do during these digital classrooms or during our photo shoots, we literally also do with those companies. So we come in, we set everything at ease. We make our setup, we make sure that our customer can see the images or not, depending on the customer. Of course, sometimes they just keep looking at that monitor and we always go like, don't. Hey, this is something new.
Yeah, somebody gives us money.
That's cool. Adrian, or Constantine Meyer actually. I didn't know that was possible. That's awesome. Thank you so very much. I now feel like a call girl. If you take up your hat, you will get $2. So let's try that. If you want me to take off my hat, give me €10. No, I'm just kidding. I will do it for free. There's nothing wrong. So that's something new, I guess. You can now actually give people money in the chat. So thank you so very much, Constantine. We didn't know that was possible. It's absolutely something that we ask. This is free. It will stay free, but we really appreciate it, of course. Sorry, you got me a little bit off guard. What was I telling? Oh yeah. So when we set up our setup for our customers, we actually make sure that they are at ease. They know exactly what's going on. They see the images coming in, and at that point, we can make way better images than if we don't do that little talk. We had a photo shoot this morning with a beautiful lady and her husband, and we did exactly the same thing. They book us for 2 hours, and I already calculated in the shoot is only like 90 minutes, but that 30 minutes in the front, I want to make sure that they are at ease. So I normally just chit-chat for 15 minutes and then we do the photo shoot, and in between we have like 15 minutes of chat time. And sometimes it's 20 minutes. It just depends on the customer. We want to make sure that they get their images, and anything in between is just having fun. Okay, a little bit about the gear we use. Of course, the BenQ monitors we all know for highly color grading. Thank you so much, Constantine. I'm not taking any clothes off. Don't even think about that one. But we are humbled. Thank you so very much. Anyway, so what was I telling now? I don't know anymore. Gear. The gear we're using. The BenQ monitors, of course, we use for color accuracy. Now, they recently released a new one, the 272U. And the thing that I really like about this, and this is why I tell it, it's not a commercial thing, it is of course a little bit. They have a new coating on it, and if you see my review, we actually use a phone with our flashlight to to shine over that monitor, and you can see that there's hardly any shine. Now, if you are in the market for a new monitor, please email me. We have a 10% discount code for all the PhotoView monitors in the European market. You have to order them from the BenQ website, but hey, they're the same price as the normal ones. So if you want that discount code, just email me. The other thing, and we get a lot of questions about that, is, hey Frank, we know you're shooting to the iPad Pro for a year now, or even over a year, almost 2. Is it still what it's supposed to be? And I can be very clearly about it, yes and no. The expectations are, of course, very, very low. And at that point you go like, yeah, well, it's way better than you expect. If the expectations are too high, it's no. And the reason is very simple. It's not about Cascable that we use. We love Cascable. It's a one-time payment for, I believe, 69 euros. And you can take a subscription. I think that's a better solution than using Capture One, which on the desktop is about 19 euros a month. And then you also pay for the mobile app. And I love Capture One. I still use it today. I'm still at version 12, so I didn't upgrade anymore. But it's an awesome software package. It's one of the best tethering software out there. However, I think that the price point, and especially with nowadays with the economic situation, I think it's a little bit high, and Cascable is a one-time payment. So what do you expect from the iPad? The first thing that I notice is the images come in way faster than on the computer. And that's probably because it's iOS. There's no limits in there, it just goes in. The thing that I find a little bit frustrating over the years is that every time when I turn my camera off, I have to go to the iPad Pro and say reconnect. And that's something that I don't have to do, for example, in Capture One. I just yank out my cable, put it back in again, and it works. So yes. For retouching wise, during workshops, what you can actually do, and a lot of people don't realize that, is you have Lightroom Mobile on your iPad. So why not shoot tethered and then just open it up in Lightroom Mobile, do some retouching, and as long as you don't do any heavy retouching, it will be fine on your iPad, especially with the Apple Pencil. If you want a little bit more, go into Photoshop, and if you want even more, yeah, that's where the iPad stops. You can use Affinity Photo, but I'm not a big fan of Affinity Photo on the iPad. On the desktop it works great. On the iPad I think it's a little bit sluggish. But I'm still using the M1 Pro iPad, so who knows. So expectations for the iPad, if you expect a fully professional workflow and you are willing to cut some corners, yes, without a doubt. For over 2 years I've been using it now, and it's absolutely amazing. We started in the middle of Corona by testing it, and I'm using it every day since then. The drawback, of course, is that you don't have access to the full Photoshop. But hey, that's okay. So that's one question. The other question is, how about IQ Wire? Still loving it? Yes, I'm absolutely still loving it. And I actually have a really nice news flash for you guys. And I'm looking at Emmeloord. Can I tell them?
Not yet.
Really not yet?
But you can tell another thing about the photo days.
Okay. But I can't tell the other thing yet.
No.
So I can't tell them we have really, really long cables coming.
No.
No. No. So we already have 10 meters and I can't tell them we're getting even longer.
No.
I can't tell them that.
No.
Not longer than 10 meters soon. No. No, it's a secret.
Secret.
Sorry guys, I can't tell you that. Anyway, IQ Wire, we chose that for the very simple reason. I got a little bit fed up by using two cables connected to each other, 4.7 meters to get to 10 meters. Connection in the middle, it never really worked for me, especially when I'm outside, dirt gets in. You can of course use connectors that close them up. In the end, not perfect. And I wanted a 10-meter cable that was without any interconnection. So one cable, 10 meters. IQ Wire has that with two inline boosters, so that's actually why we are using IQ Wire at the moment. And I'm not telling you guys that 10 meters isn't the limit. I'm not telling you that. The only thing I'm telling you is that soon, in about 4 weeks, we are at the Photo Days in Belgium. The full 3 days, we have our own booth there with IQ Wire and some really cool news. We have Gicoto over there and of course our Rogue products. And of course everything else that we use, Click backdrops will be there too. And I'm going to do, I believe, one seminar for a half an hour in the main stage.
You're going to do a presentation?
A presentation in the main stage.
Red room.
Red room. Ooh, the red room.
Every day a demo, a live demo with the model.
Okay, so every day on our booth we have live demos with our model. And we have some amazing models. We have Nadine, we have Felisa. Nadine and Felisa, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
and
you can...
a new model.
And a new model.
Sabrina.
Sabrina. Sounds cool. Sabrina the... What was it? Sabrina the witch. Sabrina the witch. Sabrina, if you're watching, bring your broomstick. Or boomstick, whatever you want to use. If you're a Bruce Campbell fan, you really got that joke. If you're not, watch movies like Army of Darkness and you will love me for it. So, let me see, what more can I tell you guys? Calibrite we didn't use yet, but also very important. We get a lot of questions about that. The color checker, and can you give me one? Because that's the question we get a lot. During Digital Classroom in the middle, we always answer the questions that you guys send us in. We have here two. This is the one with the red ribbon. This is, I believe, the standard one. Yes. This is the one that normally photographers will buy. So it's a color checker. Sorry, this is the color checker part. And they recently renewed it. And you now have also a gray, so white balance part. That's really cool. Now, if you're like us also doing a lot of video, we have another one, and that's with the blue ribbon. And they listen to me. Look at this. They finally have a fluorescent sticker on the back. Now, Calibrite. Do it on the other side too, please. Yes. So this one is actually the Duo, and this one has gray card and color checker. And if you open it up the other way, you don't have to spend any extra money because now you have the video part. So you can set up your whites, your blacks, your grays, and of course also your color. And this one, of course, because this is a cheap-ass camera, it doesn't do anything. I can't put it on manual. So every time when I move my hand, you will see the exposure going up and down. And that's a little bit annoying. Yes, Annewiek, you have a question.
Just tell them that Cascable is working on a new iOS version.
Oh yeah, we update. Annewiek actually freaked out this morning. Did you upgrade to ISO 17? Why the heck do you do that straight for a live shoot? I just trust Cascable, and they didn't disappoint. In all honesty, I didn't think about it, and I just did it, and I was going like, oh shit. But hey, it worked like a charm. You see it today; it comes in great. Okay, Constantine, do you still use Sony cameras? And have a look at the new GFX 102. Okay, let me be 100% clear about this. I still think that Sony creates great cameras. Am I happy with Sony? Yes. Although my A7R4 is getting some really weird behavior at the moment with switches that don't really work anymore. And I don't know why. I'm very careful with my stuff. It looks brand new. And that's something that I have to look up, maybe contact Sony about maybe an A7R5, because I'm still shooting the A7R4, so I'm 2 generations behind. But overall, I still think they're the best camera manufacturer, although having said that, I'm really, really curious if I get the chance to test out or the new GFX 102, exactly what Konstantin is saying, because I think Fuji with medium format is making some cameras that are really, really interesting for studio photographers like me. I still have a Credo 60, a Leaf Credo 60 on an RC7 Pro 2 and on a Mamiya 645. So the back can be switched on both cameras. So that's a medium format camera and that's a full frame. What Fuji is doing is very interesting because the set that I have, when I bought it new, I think it was about 40,000 euros, which is an insane amount of money. And I did some work for Leaf, so I got a big, huge discount. And otherwise I could never afford it. And I have to be honest, when I look at those images, they run circles around Sony, and it's a more than 15 years old system. And that's because the medium format renders images differently. It can be the lenses, but also the sensor size. So it just renders everything more three-dimensional. And in all honesty, I have really good experiences with Fuji. I've been their ambassador for 2 years in the past, and then we parted ways because Sony just had, for us, cameras that could tether, that used third-party strobes, and that had a much higher resolution than at that time the X-T2. But in all honesty, I like the Fujis for, especially the silver tops with all the buttons and the aperture ring. That's genius, and I miss that in a lot of cameras. So I would be very open to test out the Fuji without any doubt. And the other brand that actually is making waves for me at the moment, and I didn't expect that, is Canon with their new cameras. And if it's right that it's a 60 megapixel mirrorless camera, that's going to heat up the competition. Am I afraid that Sony will lose market? No, not at all. I think Sony is still like Apple on certain phones. They are still light years ahead. And I just think about an analogy that I can use, and I think I can do it. When you watch the Apple presentation, we always find it very funny because Apple always goes like, this is the best iPhone we ever created. This is the fastest iPhone we ever created. Imagine this. Yeah, guys, this year it's 100 euros more expensive, but it's the slowest iPhone we ever created. It's much slower than the 13, so why tell it it's the fastest ever? But and the thing that frustrates me a little bit is when they demonstrate stuff and they go like, look, the first time in a smartphone, we can change the focus. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that one, but 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I got my first Android after having iPhones for many years. That was a Samsung Android phone. And I bought it for the cameras. You know the first thing that my Samsung phone could do? Yes, place the focus somewhere differently. So Apple isn't the one that introduced, they're actually 6 years too late. Actually on my phone, I don't even think it works anymore because they took the app away. So it's not new. The thing, however, is when Apple does it, they do it light years ahead of anybody else. So if they introduce RAW files, they give you great RAW files. If they introduce focus change, they use LiDAR or they use depth maps. So they literally know what they're doing. And I think that's a little bit with Sony. They are the first to release stuff, but somehow it's like they are second, if you know what I mean. So every time I get a Sony camera with something new, you expect it to not work and work in the second generation. And that's the thing that really stuck out for me with Sony. Every time I try something new, it's immediately working the right way, and then they get a new firmware update and they improve it. So will I leave Sony? I don't know. It's very simple. I'm open for anything, but at the moment I feel very happy with the quality of Sony. So if somebody's out there that's making me a better offer, of course, I will always look at it. And Fuji, without any doubt, medium format is a very high contender for me for studio work. On the other hand, hey, I also love nature photography, and I don't see me walking around with a Fuji camera like a GF 102 outside. That's too big. So that's a little bit the wedge I have between the brands. Like with Sony, I can do sports, birds, studio photography, landscape photography, whatever I want with one camera. That's a huge advantage. So I actually hope that Canon will pump up the competition a little bit, because it's getting a little bit boring with Sony, right? They're the best camera at the market at the moment. Let's have some competition there. Let's kick their ass. So they will go into overdrive and create something that's even better like Apple. Okay, any more questions? By the way, Constantine, I hope I answered that question right. Anne-Wiek, do we have any more questions on other socials?
I don't think we are on other socials.
Oh no, I didn't press the Facebook because last time that went wrong. And if something went wrong, we don't do it again. Okay, we're going to set up everything. I'm going to show you very quickly a quick trailer. That's Dutch. Show you very quickly something and then we'll be right back after about 4 minutes. Hey guys, Frank here, and we have a brand new tutorial for you guys, and it's called, well, you already see it in front of me, Speedlight Magic. And we all know those little strobes, right? But did you know that those strobes are incredibly creative, that you can do almost anything you want with them? Well, this is the video if you want to know more about the speedlights. We're going to talk about the techniques like high speed sync, first curtain sync, second curtain sync. We're going to talk about fighting daylight, how to mix strobe, what is flash exposure compensation, what is zooming, and a lot more. But we're also going to talk about stuff that's really important for your workflow. What about the perfect remote controls? How about mounting those strobes on a stand? What is a boom stand? Why do you want to use it? And of course, what are my favorite modifiers? Well, if you think that's it, you're totally wrong. We also have a whole segment where we go into the studio with our model Nadine and we're going to talk about lighting setups, techniques behind those lighting setups, but most of all, how to create stunning images with only 2 speedlights. Does that sound interesting to you guys? It sure does to me. So join us on Speedlight Magic, available now. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so we answered all your questions. If you have any more questions, just leave them in the comments below, of course. Now, for the next setup, I want to create something else. We're still going to use smoke, but I want to use smoke a little bit more in a portrait setting. So we're going to make a portrait setup with only the Frangdora flash bender. Now, the flash bender I'm going to explain in a moment on the set. And I want to show you the tricks that we can actually use with the magnetic system in combination with the flash bender. And that's going to literally blow your mind probably, because this is really interesting. Okay, so we're going to go back. Let me switch over to our picture-in-picture. Yeah, but I want the small one. Okay, so we still have our lighting setup. The only thing I'm going to do is you can place yourself against the wall. Very nice. I'm going to turn the big strobe off. We're not going to use this one anymore. We're only going to use the small ones. Oh. Stop. This one we're going to turn off too for a moment. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to set this up as a normal accent lighting. So we want to make sure that we have a beautiful light on our model. So we're going to place this one on the boom. Turn it. And just feather it around our backdrop. Now, the flash bender is a really interesting product, and we designed it, I didn't design it, Rogue actually did. And I want to show you that very quickly. So the flash bender, this is the strip light configuration. You can also make a softbox out of it. And the cool thing is when you open it up, you have a bender, they're normally like a bounce card, but you can also bend it. So normally with a bounce card, all the light just goes through the ceiling, and with this one, the light goes here and then to your model. But if you're on a location and you are, for example, shooting a wedding, and you want to make sure that the bride and groom really stands out and the lighting sucks, like in 90% of the cases, you give your assistant a flash bender with a strobe, for example, a GT200 or 250 or 400, whatever you want. This one is a little bit new, so it's a little bit hard. And now I have a snoot. So now when I give for example, my assistant my strobe, and there's all this normal lighting like you see here in the studio, and you want that dancing couple to jump out, you want to make sure that you hit that couple with lighting, right? Now with your speed light, you saw the video, the magic of the speed light. With the speed lights you can use something called flash exposure compensation. Now we all know exposure compensation, right? If you're shooting a snow landscape, it will be a little bit grayish, and that means that your camera uses a reflective meter, tries to get everything into 18% gray. So what do you do with your exposure compensation? You open up one or two stops and then everything turns white. When you shoot a very dark scene, the opposite happens. Everything will be way too bright. So now you use your exposure compensation to turn it down 2 or 3 stops depending on what you want. With your flash exposure compensation, you have the same option. You can turn your flash up or down. Now the trick that we use in a wedding is actually that one of my assistants will walk around, aim this at the dancing couple, make sure that they are hit by the light, and sometimes you miss it, but you shoot 100 shots, there's always one right. And what we set up in my camera, it depends on the camera. On some cameras you have to do exposure compensation -2, flash exposure compensation +2. What it actually means is the flash will be correct, the exposure will be 2 stops down. So if I would set my flash exposure on 0 and my exposure compensation on -2, the flash will be underexposed. Now, the tricky thing about this is, per camera this changes. Sometimes you need your flash exposure compensation on 0, exposure compensation -2 works. Sometimes it's even that you need to put your flash exposure compensation on +2, -2. So test it out in your camera. Sometimes they are coupled, sometimes they're not. If they're not coupled, flash exposure 0, exposure compensation -2. If they are coupled, exposure compensation -2 because that's leading, and then your flash exposure +2 because otherwise your flash would also go down. And this just works like a charm. Now, in this case, we're going to use it as our strip light. And the setup is really easy. Even when we're filming live, you just hold the Velcro. I can't show you this close up now, but trust me, it's really easy. Use the Velcro, there we go. You just fold it over like this.
You have a short on YouTube.
Yeah, I have a short on YouTube how to do it. But I just wanted to show you the grid, or the trick with the snoot, because a lot of people love that one. There we go. And it's very, very flexible. Now, do make sure, and this is why they designed it like this, that you do it the right way up. Do you see this? This is the wrong way up. See? So the flap should be on the top. Yes, Annewiek?
This is version 3.
Yes, this is version 3.
Which is a little sturdier.
Yeah, a little bit sturdier, and the grid, they actually made a little bit different. And the grid is a huge improvement over the version 2. The version 2 was great. The version 3 is greater.
And also
It's a little bit like Apple. This is the best flash bender we ever built. It's even better than the one before.
it has a double lock also.
It has a double lock. It's the best in the market. The first in a flash bender, yes. I love Apple, don't get me wrong. But sometimes they are so ridiculous. It's almost like they create magic. And they do, in effect, let's be honest. If there's one company that actually has the right to do stuff like that, it is Apple. But it still is weird. Okay, so if you want flash bender like this, just look online on the Rogue products. We sell them, of course, in the Netherlands. We're the distributor for the Netherlands. But overall, they're sold all over the world. What? What's not good? Oh, on the sides, yeah. And don't do this during a live stream. And the new one also has a little bit longer sleeves, so you can put them on more strobes. Here we're just doing it on GT200, and that's no problem at all. Yeah, longer straps, that's the one. The strap-ons are longer. That sounds weird. Okay, let's aim it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, just stand there. There we go. Perfect. We don't want anything growing out of your hair. Aim it down. Perfect. Okay, I'm not going to use a light meter at the moment because that takes a little bit of time. And let's be honest, overall, it will probably be okay. And this was my channel C. So let's turn off B and A, just to be sure. Okay. Now, look that way. Okay. Yeah, should have used a light meter. Overexposed? That's a new expression. Way overexposed. Okay, now you see why you should use a light meter, Frank. Underexposed. Somehow, even if I don't use a light meter, I'm the best advocate for using light meters. It's weird, right? Okay, so this looks nice. Now, the thing is, and that's what we also did in the previous part, feathering. Now, look at the backdrop. Do you see that there's this annoying white area where you go like, Frank, what the heck are you doing? I'm not used to this from you. Yeah, that's correct. Because at the moment, I'm not feathering. Now, what is feathering? Every light source, maybe even a Fresnel, by the way, but in a lesser form, they have a very bright spot. Now, take your phone. Turn on your flashlight, aim it at the wall. The first thing you will see is a very bright spot in the middle, and then on the sides it will feather out. It will be softer, and it will be less intense. Every light source does exactly the same. So that means when I use a light source on my model, and I use the center, I have harsh shadows, quick shadow transfer, and a lot of light output. When I use the sides of the light, I have softer light quality, great, for example, for accent lighting on hairs, that you don't see the dust standing out in the hairs. Looks a little bit artificial. So you have softer light, but you also get less light intensity. And that means that when we use it like the previous setup as an, how do you call it, a sandwich, is that we can actually aim a little bit of light on the backdrop, a little bit of light on our model. So what we're now going to do is actually the opposite. I'm going to turn it away from the backdrop. And this is why I let my model stand against the backdrop, to show you guys how powerful this technique is. Because he's literally against the backdrop. There's not an inch between my model and the backdrop. But with the flash bender, and also with the strip light, I can make sure that my backdrop is actually darker than my model. So how the heck is that possible? That's that feathering. So you want to make sure that you turn that light away from your backdrop. Now I already told you guys, I want to show you something with the magnetic system. Now what we can do in the flash bender, we can actually use a gel. So let's use a blue gel in the flash bender. So let's see if we have a blue gel somewhere. Here. En even. Annewiek, ik moet even een houder. I need a holder for this one. One moment, guys. We're working on it. There we go. Okay. Now, because this is already a magnetic system, the GT250, I don't have to change anything. We just take the flash bender off. We can even slide it off, by the way. No, it's a little bit too tight. That's great. It's also very lightweight. As you saw, it just floats very gently to the floor. I almost got it, but I'm lazy. We're going to edit this in YouTube in slow motion, so it looks like... No, I'm just kidding. And the nice thing, by the way, about the flash bender is it doesn't matter how many times I drop it, or if I stand on it, I'm not going to do that now, it will just bounce back into its form, so you can't destroy it. Of course, the coating is a little bit more sensitive, but the flash bender itself, don't worry if you drop it. And if you destroy it, you can always buy a new one. Yeah, it's just lowered in price. So I would say drop your version 2, look at your wife and says, I want a version 3. Okay. Yeah, even if it's not broken, we just break it. Okay, so now we have a blue gel underneath. And because every gel takes away light, we have to add a little bit more light. And now, as you can see, by adding that little bit of blue, I can create a whole set with that color. And for me, that is so cool, because if I use, for example, studio strobes, I can never gel a whole softbox. I cannot do that for the very simple reason you don't have gels that are like 1 meter by 1 meter. But by using a magnetic system and magnetic strobes, like for example the Gigotos, or the Hensels, or Ellingrom has the smaller ones, Profoto has the smaller ones. If you have a magnetic system, you can always place a gel in front of your strobe and then put the softbox on, and that's a huge advantage. Okay, so now we're going to take the red one, we're going to aim that from the other side, and the red one we're going to do something special with, something I never did before, so I'm always curious if it works. Oops. It's all very sturdy material, don't worry, Linda. Let's turn that down. And the best tip I can give you guys is invest in really good boom stands. These are boom stands that are not on the market anymore. These are the old Ellingroms. But if you look at Manfrotto online, they have a really cool line of stands. And they also have some really nice boom stands. Now, the main advantage of a boom stand, as you can see here, is it's not a stand that just stands like this. It's a stand that you can literally just extend. That's a lot of extends. And for example, if you shoot somebody straight in the front, normally you have your stand here, your softbox here, and you have to move around that stand with your camera. It doesn't really work. With a boom stand, you just place your stand here, extend the boom, and aim your strobe at your model. And now you can just move around very easily. Or in a set like this, you don't see the stands, but you still have the light. So, very nice. Big fan of them. Boom stands. They go boom. Bad humor. Sorry. Okay, let's give a little bit more power on that blue. First, I'm going to get the blue in order. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's a little bit brighter. And now we're going to add the red one. So we're going to go B, and let's go for mode, manual. Also do that on, let me see, that's a dome, half power. I just want a little bit of kiss of light. There we go. Now, by using the 2 primary colors, I have a big advantage, because with 2 primary colors, I can change the color balance very easy. I'm going to show you that in a second. I really like this. But now, Mirte, are you ready to smoke?
I hope so.
I hope so too. Because if you're not, I have a problem.
Oh, like you said, you can also do it yourself.
My English is very well.
I noticed.
Yes. And I learn every single day. Okay, just first against the backdrop.
Yes.
And then just float it, like flow. But come closer, come closer. I don't bite. Yet.
She maybe does.
Annemiek? Watch out for the power. Don't come closer. Then she will bite. Okay, it's a 3/4. It's around here. So I want you to fill up the back first.
Yeah.
Very nice. Aim it at the floor. Perfect, and that's all. More you don't have to do.
You want me to stop smoking?
Yep, stop smoking. It's bad for your health.
Aw.
That joke gets old really fast. And now when you can see, now we're creating that mood. Look at this, the smoke. It's the only thing we changed, the smoke. Wow, that's awesome. Now we're getting something more exciting, I think. Let's try to get in a little bit of lens flare from the flash bender. There we go. You see that direction of light immediately jumps out if you just add it in the frame and just take it out. Awesome. By moving around, I can also choose to get it from the red. But in all honesty, I think when I want the red, I can better stand here and do it like this. This is also nice. It's not really my style, but I really like it. Maybe it is my style. I don't know yet. Nice. Same thing, turn around. And you don't have to loosen your hair, by the way. One step forward, please. And then when I say yes, just turn around and just throw your clothing around. Keep them on, keep them on. It's an 18, below 18 live stream. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Chin up and scream without making sound. 1, 2, 3, go. Chin up all the way. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah! Yeah, maybe more. Correct. Are you ready? Can we have a lot of smoke?
Background, foreground?
Background. And then it will come to the foreground immediately. Okay, stop. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. Look over your shoulder. No movement. Chin down. Ooh, really like that. Now try to find the... Yes, that's what I mean. Yes, perfect. Just aim it a little bit there. Now, if you need, and I really like this Rembrandt lighting a lot, but if you need a little bit more on your model, and this is why I don't believe in diagrams in your books, just aim that light very, very slightly this way. So it's maybe 20 centimeters, so that's about 6 inches. Chin up just a little bit. And keep looking that way. That's very important. There we go. And now we have that nice flatter lighting. Ooh, this I really like. Can I have a little bit of smoke? Look at the difference. As soon as the smoke comes in, just keep shooting. Yeah, just back. And you can see that I'm not shooting with the smoke yet, but as soon as the smoke comes up, you start to see it a little bit in the frame. But I'm going to ask you, why doesn't the smoke look as nice as before? Why is there like this shimmer of light of smoke? There's no smoke anymore. Do you see that? Watch this. I'm going to take this strobe. I'm going to aim it back against the wall, but now I'm going to feather it even more. Now what I want you to do is fill up the smoke again from the front. You stay that way.
Front?
Yep, front and back. Perfect. Now the smoke will come up. Much more. Just like the previous ones.
Yeah, I need to go to the other side for
Okay,
that.
don't worry. This is why we have 2 smoke machines. When we have water-based smoke machines, always use 2, because they will run down very, very quickly and they need to heat up.
Yeah, this one too.
That one too. Oh my goodness. Then let's do some funky shots. Look that way if you want. Aim your finger towards the camera and scream. I'm up here. That's so much fun to do something on a different angle. And you know, a lot of people are so stuck with their angles, like, oh, I have to do it from eyes perspective or a little bit lower. You know how much fun you can have by high angles? Can you lean against the wall like this?
Like this?
Yes, and then just aim your head up. Look, for example, like something like this. It's not a really comfortable pose. We have that split lighting going on. But you see that it's interesting, it's different. And now, ooh, that's nice. And you can even do it from here. Now I need some Photoshop, of course, to fix this. But at that point, we have to make sure that this strobe, of course, is aimed down a little bit. Otherwise it won't work. And let's say C is already on full power. Let's lower it down. I don't want to keep you too long. Okay, there we go. Nice. Yeah, smoke machine is ready?
Yeah.
Okay, then we are ready. I don't know about the pose. It's a little bit up the parking way or something. I don't know how to call it. You know what I mean, right? It's maybe a little bit too...
It's just like a guy sitting in the bus.
Yeah. It's like normal guys sit in the bus, but if we make a picture of a girl like this, they go like... So, don't. It's a happy accident because we're waiting for the smoke. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Now look a little bit that way. Now look at the difference that smoke makes compared to the strobe on the other side. A little bit more up. Yeah. There we go. That's the one. And now we have that smoke again. I don't know if she filled it up before also on the bottom or part. But by lighting it from the back, the smoke, even now I still have that little bit of smoke in there. And that's what I meant when I started this seminar. Make sure that you aim your strobe into the smoke and not on the smoke. So let's turn this one even more aggressively. Okay, a lot of smoke. A lot of smoke. Think about your grandma smoking her last.
My grandma does not smoke.
Okay. Interns. Oh, I love this. Really, really nice. Cool. Cross your arms if you want. Slightly higher angle. Perfect, thank you so very much. Okay, let's go to the computer. I want to show you that trick with the color balance. Or anyway, do we have any questions?
No.
Okay, cool.
Do you want to do another set?
No, because the smoke is now very thick. So we have to, okay, go back here. Okay, let's go to my camera. The thing I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to open up this final shot, this last one. Let's go into Photoshop for this one. Sorry that you guys don't see this, but I also have stuff from a client on here that I don't want, of course, public, because it's for a client. So let's go into Lightroom. In between, I will show you very quickly a building or a light meter video. So that's going to be interesting too. I will be back in 2 minutes. I just have to open it up. Hey guys, my name is Frank Dorhoff and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, you guys really like the book because we're getting a lot of rave reviews on Amazon and every other online store. So that actually triggered us to make a video series about the book. Now, in the first video, I will tell you everything about the light meter. Now, in digital photography, I think the light meter is the one thing that confuses people a lot. Shouldn't I use the histogram, Frank? Isn't there a meter inside the camera? Where do I point the meter? Towards the pretty girl? Towards the camera? Towards the light source? Where? There's a lot of confusion out there. Now in this video, I will give you in more than 70 minutes all the insights out about the light meter. Calibrating, using incident and reflective, using a white background, how to keep details in the black, how to trigger the meter, where to point the meter. You will see everything very easily explained, but you will also see photo shoots including our model Manon. This is one of the videos if you're slightly interested in the light meter, or if you already have a light meter and you want to know everything about it, get this video. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot, the light meter, and it's the first video in a whole series that we're going to release in connection to our book Mastering the Model Shoot, and it's available now from our website. back. Let's switch over to Lightroom on the iPad. It's so awesome that you can now use Lightroom on the iPad, imagine that. Okay, so here we have that image. The first thing I always do is check focus. Well, focus is okay. Now, I wanted to show you that trick. Now, I'm shooting this with blue and red for a very simple reason. Both red and blue are our primary colors. Let me explain that a little bit on camera, by the way, in case you don't know. So when we look at what we see 3 colors, red, green and blue. Now all those colors have 3 coordinates, an X, a Y and a big Y, hue, saturation and luminance. Where luminance, and that's the one that's important in this case, luminance actually determines the saturation of a key. And that sounds a little bit weird, because I just said you have an X, a Y, hue, saturation and luminance. So why does luminance influence the saturation? It's actually very simple. If you lower the luminance, or in other words the key, of a color, it will get more saturated. Think about your printer. We all know CMYK. Those are the secondary colors, cyan, magenta, yellow. So what is the K? A lot of people say the K is black. It's not correct, because then it would be B. Well, that would be blue, Frank. No, it's not correct. The K actually stands for key. So you have cyan, magenta, yellow, key. And key determines the luminance of a color. So if you lower the luminance of a color, you get more saturated. Because in your printer, there's only one red, one green, one blue with modern printers, one cyan, one magenta, one yellow. Did you ever wonder how you can make darker yellow or lighter yellow in your printer? Add more ink? No, of course not, because then your paper will literally just drown from ink and it will cost you a lot of money. Now, what you do is, if you want a color to appear more saturated, you add black, or in other words, you add your key and then the color gets more saturated. Now, when we look at the black body curve in the middle, that's where we choose our white point. And for us as photographers, that's often D65, or in other words, 6500 degrees Kelvin. That's our white point. It's a little bit off the black body curve and it's a little bit reddish white. So if you see a correctly calibrated monitor, the first time you look at it, you go like, ooh, it looks a little bit reddish. That's absolutely right, it should be. So, if we know that we have a triangle of colors, red, green and blue, and a black body curve, and when we draw lines from our primary colors through our white point, we get our secondary colors. If you think this goes too fast, just email me. We have a video on that online and I will link you to that video. It's actually pretty simple. So, now because I'm shooting with red and blue, I'm shooting with 2 colors on the same axis. Green is on the top, red is here, blue is there. So red and blue are on the same angle. Now the thing is, in between red and blue, there's a color called magenta. That's where we're going to manipulate this, because magenta, of course, lies very close to red, which is wrong, because it's dead in the center between blue and red. And this is nice. If you use gels that are thick enough, and you have to make sure that you have thick gels, so don't go on AliExpress and order the cheapest gels, you have to take the gels that take about 3 or 4 stops away. And a lot of people don't buy those gels because they go like, hey, they take 3-4 stops away, that costs me a lot of light. I will take the gels that take 1 stop away. Those gels don't have that key that will make this trick possible. So let's first just edit the image like we would normally do. So let's go here. And by the way, if you want more retouching stuff again in Digital Classroom, let me know. We didn't do a lot of retouching lately, but we can start doing that again if you like. But I always thought that people found that a little bit boring. So the first thing I do is always add a little bit of contrast. We're shooting raw, you can play with your highlights. I'm losing a light meter, so I don't use that normally. Then I will retouch the skin, which I will skip for now. And then we go to color, and this is the interesting part. Look at this. I can change my color. I can make it more blue, but that's not the way that I want to go. I want to go this way. And now you see the power of this trick. You see that I'm using a blue gel, right? If I go back to as shot, I can literally see that on this side it's blue, on that side it's red. But what if I want that red so saturated that it's almost blowing out my color channels? I have to turn it down in Photoshop, right? Because I can't have that, because at that time my color channels are blown out. If I do it this way and I will move my temperature towards blue, it looks terrible. But if I go the other way, actually my model starts to look normal in her skin, but the red looks way more saturated without blowing out my highlights or without blowing out any colors. So let's go back for this. There we go. So again, if you do it as shot, you can see that it's way too blue. If you go this side, it doesn't really, this looks terrible. This is not what we're supposed to do. But now we go this way. Now you might wonder like, hey Frank, come on, you can do this in Photoshop. It's just a trick. Now, It's different. If I have a customer that really likes this look with blue, I can actually enhance the blue by going into color mix, go to the blue channel, and just add saturation to blue. Change the luminance, remember the key, go down, change the hue to make it a little bit more into that. And because I'm still on, and this is the trick, I'm still on that same angle. Don't do this with colors that are not connected because you will fail or it will look really, really weird. But because I'm on that same axis, I can just move the color temperature and the hue, I can just move freely. But also the luminance, because the luminance is just key. It doesn't really matter. As long as they're on the same axis, you can do this trick. So I can have a little bit more blue, maybe a little bit change. And you see, I can manipulate every side of this image without going into Photoshop, without any masking. And the main advantage is, because I'm literally manipulating that color channel, you don't have blown out, you can have blown out color channels, but not as easy. You have no problem with selections, and it just looks natural. It's not painted in. But mostly, oh, low power, we don't want that. But mostly, it's the way that I'm using it this way. Hey Frank, I really love that blue. And then they come home and they go like, I don't really like that blue. Man, it's terrible. Okay, no problem at all. And I'm a pure magician. I just take the blue out this way. And now I have a normally lit photo without that blue gel. Hey Frank, this is a little bit too normal. Okay, no problem. Just bring, how much of the blue gel do you want? A little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Ooh, that's nice. That's actually more than we had before, mister. Okay, now, okay, go back, go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. Yeah, I really like this. Okay, now let's fine tune it. See, because it's on the same axis. You get the trick, it's on the same axis. So whatever you do, you're literally just manipulating that axis. And that's why we use blue on one side and red on the other, same axis. And now, of course, you can do vibrance. And now you see the problem why we don't do it with vibrance. You see immediately my color channels start to clip like crazy. I don't have any control anymore. And that's freaking vibrance. Imagine doing it with saturation. There we go, saturation. One tick and it's already gone. So by using normal lighting, I will literally blow out my color channels. By using this trick, I can manipulate it whatever I want and I don't blow out any color channels, except of course if I go all the way, oh, with red it's okay. The blue one actually is not a thick gel. The red one is the really thick one. Okay, so let's go back to this. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below and we will check our email like every 2 or 3 hours and you will get an email back. This one will be available on YouTube, of course, after the live broadcast. And I have some things that I have to mention from Emmeloord. Oh, yeah, we have discount codes for the photo days in Belgium. So if you want a discount code for the photo days or the BenQ monitor, just email me. BenQ monitor is 10% discount, so that's a huge amount. And it's only available in limited supply. So please email me. Don't wait until the last moment. Just email me. I will send you the code. And the code will be valid for the whole year, so don't worry. Oh, and yeah, this is something that we're a little bit in doubt about. We are planning a workshop in Spain, actually in the southern part of Spain. There's a beautiful studio we can use, but also outside. And we were thinking, and just think with me, just email me what you like. We would like to do a 1-week workshop, but it's not a 1 week. We're going to rent a house over there where everybody can stay, or you can have your own apartment. I believe it's several apartments in one complex. And it's just going to be a 1 week with Frank and Anna week. We're just going to be there. But we were thinking about doing something like for a VIP 2 days before, where we literally just enjoy the area, take some street and travel photography, and just walk around. Then one day, as soon as you come in, we're going to do a studio workshop, and the next day an outside workshop, and then again 3 days free. And I think it's a really cool opportunity to have, 1, a nice holiday, and 2, of course, learn a lot about photography, but still have your free time. And you can bring your kids and your wife, because they can do stuff that they like to do, and you do the workshop. We are also starting again, and this is a little bit more commercial, we are starting again our one-on-one workshops in the Netherlands. So if you are interested in a one-on-one workshop, email me. I believe we have the prices on $7.99 for a full day workshop in the Netherlands. So you have to take care of your own travel and hotel, of course, but for $7.99 you have a one-on-one workshop. And we can do it in English or Dutch. Even if you're English, we can do it in Dutch if you want. And then you go home and you didn't learn anything, except speak Dutch. Click event in the UK, close to Birmingham. Yeah, that's also right. You see that a lot of trade shows are now dying out and they don't do the trade shows anymore. Like the photography show stopped, professional imaging in the Netherlands, we don't hear anything about anymore. We still have the photo days in Belgium. And actually in the UK, Click backdrops. They picked it up with Click events, and it's going to be freaking amazing. I saw what they are planning, and even if I was not a speaker there and a booth holder, I would literally go there. I don't care what it costs. That is the show that I want to go.
Lindsay Adler is coming.
Lindsay Adler is coming. I'm coming. Everybody's coming. If you like gear, you're coming. No, don't worry. Everybody's coming to the event, and why? You know what I hate about trade shows? What I hate about trade shows is look at the new products. I know the products already. Actually, when Sony emails me like, hey, we have a new camera coming out, yeah, I already know the specs because I read Sony Alpha rumors, right? And you know 1 week in advance what the specs will be. And then Sony is releasing it like, hush, hush. And now for the ambassadors, 1 day before we can tell you the specs, we already know the specs. So you don't go to a trade show for news anymore. If you want to hold a camera, you go to a store. You don't go to a trade show. If you want bargains, that's where you go to a trade show, but often you can't carry the stuff, so you're going like, yeah, maybe I have a bargain, maybe not. Why I go to trade shows is very simple. 1, meet the instructors. That's one of the most important things because we teach you guys over internet. We teach you guys via tutorials or social media, but there's no way to really meet somebody, to get to know somebody. Take them out for dinner, for example, hint. Whatever, you know what I mean, right? So you want to meet the instructors. And this is something that Click Events is really big in. They don't want their instructors to teach and then go to their hotel rooms. The instructors are there teaching on booths, doing their live shows, and it's just all aimed at photography education. And there's still a lot of booths. We will be there with Gigoto, we will be there with Rogue, of course, in combination with Lumeska, our friends from the UK. And we will bring a lot of stuff, and we're going to do live demos. So Click Events, it's in Birmingham. It's at June 20, close to Birmingham, because Birmingham was too small for the event. Just kidding. It's on June 2024, the 23rd and the 25th of June. And October 11th, we have the next digital classroom with our model and stylist, Nadine. So that's going to be awesome. We're going to have big dresses probably, vintage stuff, great styling, and that digital classroom you can't miss. Well, you can miss it if you don't watch, but then you can watch it back on YouTube. So that's on October 11th. On my side, if there are no more questions in the chat, I would love to thank you so very much for watching. I would like to thank Constantine Meyer for testing out our new thing. And he actually told me in the break that there was this little marker where you could say, hey, if people want to pay you money for your work, press here. And we never ever engaged that. It's something new. So we just clicked it on. And as Constantine showed us, it worked. So thank you so very much for that.
And we like to thank our assistants.
Yeah, and we like to thank our assistants, of course, Martin, who helps us with the camera, a really good friend of mine. I've known him from 12 years old. Martin, how long do we know each other? 12, 13? No, probably with the Amiga. 15 years probably. I didn't have my moped yet, so I had to be 15 years.
35 years.
So 35 years we already know each other. That's actually longer than I know Emmeloord. Do you know that? So, and we have our intern Meerte today, of course, who helped us out with the smoke. And of course, Emmeloord behind the computer. And studio dog Chewy. And of course, our model Linda. So, thank you so very much for watching, guys. See you again next time. I'm going to take a shower because it's really hot in here. And then I'm going to relax.
That's because of the new roof.
We have a new roof, yes. If you didn't watch that video, make sure you watch that video.